Welcome to episode 5 of the No Longer Fatherless podcast. We have another special guest with us today, and that is Mr. James J.B. Berry, who prefers J.B. He is a mentor of ours for a year now and has a lot of really neat stories on how that relationship has blossomed, and I just look up to him a lot. He has a really neat career that we're going to learn about. Husband, father, grandfather, and a great leader. So I'm excited to talk to him today. Thank you for coming, JB.
Hey, thanks for the invite. I appreciate it.
No problem. I'm excited to talk with you about a lot of topics. You found my secret board behind the camera.
Yeah.
So this is our 5th episode, and I write these topics on a whiteboard. But I have so many things written on the whiteboards that JB is the only one that's noticed so far. So he found me out. So now he's going to know what's coming.
Well, that's good. Have a little bit of preparation. This is new territory for me. I'm about to turn 65 on Monday, and I'm not very tech savvy, this sort of thing. I've never listened to or watched a podcast before watching yours last night for the first time, episode number 1. So,
how about that? That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So you do a lot of driving.
I do. I spend a lot of time on the road. My vehicle is a 2023 GMC pickup truck, and it has 86,000 miles on it. So it is my mobile office, and I do spend a lot of time in it.
So what do you do on your drives? Do you listen to music? Books on tape?
I mostly listen to contemporary Christian music to help get my mind in a better place, or nothing. I spend a lot of time with nothing going on, and I'm in my own thoughts.
My wife will do that. She will get in the car. She's a teacher, so she's, got a lot of sounds and things going on all day. So sometimes she'll drive home with our son and tell him, I just need silence. And then on a rough day, she'll just sit in her car for an extra 10 minutes while he goes inside and decompresses.
Silence can be a good thing.
Oh, yeah. It'll heal you temporarily. My dad is of similar age. He was born in 63, so he just turned 62. And he had a big phase. He was in sales on the road, and so he listened to books on tape just one after another. That was his thing. And I have been listening to podcasts for a long time, so I think I sort of inherited that trait of listening to, stories and people talking. So we enjoy that.
Good.
And I've gotten to know you over the past probably over a year. And so I know some of the things going on currently with you, but I was interested in hearing a little bit more of your backstory. You mentioned a couple months ago, JB came in for our mentor Q&A we do as a part of our training. And you mentioned at 6, your parents got a divorce. Yes. Which was unusual for the time. And was that in Michigan?
Yes. It's, back, that was many, many years ago, 1966. And divorce wasn't as common then as it is now. In fact, I didn't know any other kids from divorced families. And my mother had not worked previously, so she was forced into the workplace. And it was very sudden upon us. And so that's where my disconnect from my father began. I mean, we had at that time the typical visitation every other weekend sort of thing, but it was every other weekend when it was convenient for him. And so yeah, that's how I, at an early time in my life, did not have a regular mentor to look up to. My mother had a female friend who was also divorced, and she had 3 daughters. I had one sister, So essentially I was around 6 women my whole life growing up, early life.
So did you have a time when you had men come in your life that meant a lot to you?
I had an uncle that helped out a little bit, and then also through scouting, there was one of the leaders who kind of reached out to guys similar to myself who didn't have a regular father type figure in their lives. And he was very kind to us and would take us on camping trips when normally somebody's father would go with them. And so that was pretty special. Enjoyed that.
What time of year were you camping in Michigan?
Fortunately, during the summer.
That's good.
We didn't do a lot of winter camping up there.
Yeah, I know as you progress through the Cub Scouts and I guess get to an Eagle Scout, they do some pretty intense challenges and camping trips where like they're not allowed to use a tent. You have to sleep on the floor and build a fire. And I think they do ones where you can't bring food.
Did all that and did a mile swim in a lake. It was very cold. Michigan lakes never get warm, but it was also foggy that morning, so that was an interesting challenge as part of that. But
That sounds awful.
it was an interesting challenge.
I have become such a wimp when it comes to cold water over the years.
I have now that I've lived in Florida for over 40 years. In fact, I live in New Smyrna Beach now, and I went to the beach last night, and the water was 78 degrees, which in Michigan is wonderful. In Florida, when the Atlantic Ocean is 78, it's a little cool, but it's still not bad.
Felt like just a hot tub.
Yeah, that's the way it is during the summer in July and August, but yeah, not so bad.
And how did you mentioned being in the construction business for basically 40 years. How did that start or come to be?
Well, I didn't think that I would ever get to go to college being raised by a single mother on a bank teller's income until I applied during my senior year in high school and got accepted to University of Southern California, University of California, Los Angeles, which were two of my favorites because of seeing them on TV. I didn't know, I'd been to California once in my life, didn't know anything about them. But then also applied to Michigan and Michigan State, which were both approximately an hour from where I grew up in Michigan. And Michigan State offered me a scholarship with them. And so that's how I ended up going there. But I had no idea what I was going to do there. And it was probably due to a lack of any type of mentorship. There was no focus in my life at an early age. So after 2 years, you have to declare a major. And I had no idea what I was going to do. So I looked through the catalogs that showed what classes fit, what majors, and I was just looking for something that I could get in where the classes that I had already taken would still fit with that major, because I couldn't afford to take extra classes. And I saw this thing called construction management, and I always liked building things with my hands. In the little bit of time that I was able to spend with my father, he worked for General Motors during the day on a first shift, and he'd get out at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then he would do small construction remodel jobs on the side. So sometimes I would help him with those, and I liked doing that. And so that's what I picked. And I was told I was crazy at the time because this was in the early 80s. And today people think interest rates are terrible at 6 and 7%. mortgage interest rates in the 80s, early 80s, were 18%.
Yeah.
And people thought I was insane for picking construction. I said, when you get out of school, you'll never get a job. And I was very fortunate in that between my junior and senior year at Michigan State, I interviewed for an internship with Ryan Homes, and who operated all over the country. And Ryan was one of the largest builders at the time, still is a large builder.
Yeah, I've seen them around.
And they offered me a scholarship or internship in Sarasota. And so I went to Sarasota for the summer. Enjoyed that immensely.
I bet that was a big change.
Well, huge change. One, because I'd never spent any time in Florida. Two, my college roommate at the time, his parents owned a condo in Longboat Key, which is a very, very nice area. They were right on the Gulf of Mexico, and they didn't use the condo during the summer. So they let me stay there for free, just paid the electric bill. And so this is a kid from a very simple background, and now I'm living in a very nice condo with the Gulf of Mexico out one balcony and Longboat Key Country Club out the other balcony. And I just thought, wow, this is great. And you're right on the coast, so you got a breeze, and didn't really notice how hot it really gets in Central Florida in the summer. Ryan Holmes ended up in the spring, offered me a permanent position, so I had a job before I ever got out of school. And all I had to do was graduate, which then became my big focus. I was so concerned about missing one credit somewhere that somebody didn't catch. But so when I graduated, they moved me down to Florida, and that's how I got here 42 years ago.
Wow. And you mentioned thinking that you'd never be able to go to college. Was that something that you sort of made up in your own mind, or do you think that was pressure from other people? Or
it was a financial. I never thought I'd have the money for it because my mother couldn't afford to send me whatsoever. But the big reason why I picked Michigan State over Michigan is because Michigan State offered me a scholarship. And it was what they called at the time a good risk scholarship. And they looked at my background, and they saw that I graduated 5th in my class. And so I worked very hard in my studies. And then I was also an all-state level athlete. And so they said, well, here's a kid who tries hard. He just doesn't have any money. And so they offered me a 50% scholarship, and that allowed me to be able to go. And at the same time, I worked at a grocery store bagging groceries when I was available, and then also had a job working at the dormitories at night. And that was a great job for me because I worked as security at the door. You just had to check and make sure there were students only coming in, but I could study while I was working. And so that worked out very well for me to be able to do both things at the same time. So
that's why you'll never root for the Wolverines.
It's not allowed. That's not allowed. You grow up, you spend your college days in East Lansing, you avoid any other colleges in the state as much as possible.
Yeah, it is so funny how big those rivalries can be.
It's a pretty big one.
I saw a lady at Family Days this weekend with Ohio State shirt on, and then I said something like, "Do you root for Michigan?" And then she lost it.
Yeah, some people are very passionate about that, but
it was like I slapped her.
Yeah, that's a pretty passionate rivalry. In fact, in the early days, when the Big Ten there were only 8 teams at the beginning, and Michigan voted against Michigan State joining the league. But in the mid '60s, Michigan State was a major football power, but not so much lately. But I'm still a Spartan, still the fan.
They've had some runs.
Yeah,
not quite like basketball.
No, basketball has been a little bit better.
Were you ever able to repair your relationship with your father?
We had a good relationship. I would never say it was a bad relationship. There was never any abuse or anything like that. So later in life, well, when I graduated from Michigan State, I moved to Florida, and he still lived in Michigan, not far from where I grew up. But once I moved to Florida, I didn't see much of him, and he remarried immediately after divorcing my mother, and actually had a child who, it was 30 years later before anybody admitted that he was my half brother, not just another stepbrother. Mm-hmm. But our relation, I wouldn't term it as bad, just a relationship of convenience of when time permitted.
Mm-hmm. And how long have you been married?
My wife Terry and I just celebrated our 40th anniversary last April, which was super exciting. And we decided throughout my career I've spent a lot of time traveling and racking up frequent flyer miles. So I spent 1 million frequent flyer miles for her and I to fly to Australia first class.
Wow.
In a Delta One private suite, which was very much a treat.
That sounds amazing.
Oh, it was exciting.
How long were you there?
19 days.
Wow.
We spent several days, started in Sydney, and then several days in Brisbane, and then several days in Cairns, which is the closest place to the Great Barrier Reef. So I got to dive the Great Barrier Reef, which was awesome. Then we came back to Sydney for a couple more days. And
scuba dive or snorkel?
Scuba.
Scuba.
And Terry went snorkeling with me, and then but I did the scuba, which was awesome.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
See any great whites?
No great whites, and in fact, the boat that we went on, I think the dive master that I was with, I want to say he had been on 400 dives, and he'd never seen a great white.
Wow.
So it's a lot more myth than actual.
A lot more Shark Week propaganda.
Yeah, and I really wanted to wear one of my shirts from New Smyrna Beach that says the shark bite capital of the world on it, but didn't go there.
What were some of the major highlights from Australia?
One of the things we got to do, we went to a koala sanctuary, and so we got to get up close and personal with a koala, which was very exciting. But what I didn't know we were going to get to do was hand feed kangaroos. And they had them in a very large open area, and a very docile animal, and come up and just nibble food out of your hand. So that was pretty exciting.
Yeah.
And then we went to the Australia Zoo, which is the one that Irwin's founded. Mm-hmm. And so that was great, walking around the zoo there. So, saw the world's largest giraffe as certified by the Guinness Book of World Records. So that was kind of fun. His name is Forrest. And so it was a great zoo. We enjoyed that. And then, of course, diving the Great Barrier Reef is pretty exciting. Mm-hmm. Saw a lot of surfers. I had booked a surfing lesson at Bondi Beach, and but the surf was too rough that day. And so I did not get to do that, but we went across the bay to another beach and saw some very, very good surfers over there. It was Manly Beach was the name of that one.
Manly?
Manly, yeah.
All right.
Sounds like a great place to be a great surfer.
Yeah. That's pretty amazing. What a bucket list trip. Yeah. I was just thinking how sort of your environment determines your comfort of a certain place. Because I've been in Florida over 30 years and I love it. But then you talk to, say online or different ways they portray it as, this crazy place with all these things that can kill you. And that's how I think about Australia, like the world's most deadliest snake, great whites, all these spiders, scorpions. Who knows what else they have?
I had a very difficult time convincing my wife to go. She didn't want to go because of all those things that people perceive that it is. But we were there for 19 days. We didn't see any of that at all. That wasn't in a zoo. Okay, no different than you would here. But we didn't go to the interior of the country either, in the outback area. We stayed along the coast, along the eastern coast of the continent, and it's very clean, excellent public transportation system, very easy to use, a little bit pricey, but not ridiculously expensive, and very friendly people. They love Americans down there, and I would go back again, but it's a 5-hour flight from Orlando to LA, and then a 15-and-a-half-hour flight from LA to Sydney. And Terry had no interest in that whatsoever. But even in the Delta One suites that we had, where you lay down in a bed and it's very comfortable, 15-and-a-half-hours, still too long. So she's not interested in going back. I would go back. I'll
go with you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. We did not go to New Zealand because one was time, and two was it was cold there. We went in the middle of the summer, which is the middle of their winter down there. And it's also very interesting getting used to everything is opposite, because as you go south to north, it goes from cold to warm. And looking at the moon looks totally different from down there. The water does go down the drain, the opposite direction. That's true. That does happen. And even they drive on the left side of the road, and which I didn't think that much about, because we decided not to drive, not to make that challenge. But what I didn't really think about is they also walk on the left side of the sidewalk. And so that took some getting used to, because we kept walking into people.
Yeah.
And so that was a lot of fun. That was a great experience.
We had our honeymoon in Ireland, and so they drive on the left, and we got a little rental car. It was like a little Ford Fiesta or something, and then the driver's seat's on the right, and then it was stick shift with the left hand.
Oh, wow.
So my brain was in a pretzel.
I bet. I bet it was.
We didn't die, so we made it.
That's a good thing.
There were some close calls on these tiny roads that were built who knows how long ago, and they're lined with a rock wall. There's like no shoulder, and there's double-decker buses flying around the corners, and you're just like, please, please make it.
That sounds exciting.
And we're actually going back for Colt's 18th birthday.
Oh, great.
We have a savings account that money goes into every month, so we'll have enough to pay for the trip, and that's going to be his 18th birthday present.
Super.
So,
well, we had a trip to Ireland planned for my daughter's college graduation, and fortunately I bought the insurance, because that was in March of 2020. And
good timing.
Nobody was going anywhere. So there were a lot of people over there who would not return our deposits, but kept them on hand. So it's still on our list to use those deposits. But since then, our daughter's gotten married, and so her and her husband have other travel plans. So fitting in that trip to Ireland's been a little more difficult, but that is a lot of where our heritage is from. So it's definitely on the list.
Yeah, we absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
And we had some funny experiences. We stayed in Enniskerry, which is like 45 minutes away from Dublin. And there's a little village there, and we met some locals who hadn't driven to Dublin, and they're like in their 20s, 30s, never driven 45 minutes to go to Dublin. Then there's the Cliffs of Moher on the west coast, and it's a pretty small country, so you can drive across in 3 to 4 hours. So we did that one day, and just these sheer cliffs dropping off into the ocean. And we got a taxi one night, and we were talking to the driver about it and asking him if he's ever been there. And he said, no, I've never been there. And he goes, but I did go to Disney World last year. So took his family across the ocean to Disney World, but didn't drive to see one of these beautiful wonders.
Wow.
So we had some funny times there.
Yeah, that sounds great.
It was really neat. And we're going to be back in 7 years.
It's a great plan.
So we should get into some No Longer Fatherless info here.
Sure.
So I love your perspective of when we got to meet each other. You want to share that story?
I'd love to share that story. It's pretty incredible, and every time I talk about it, I get goosebumps and the hair stands up on my arm. And I'm a part owner of a construction company. It's Covenant is the name of the company. And primarily we do hospitality renovations across the country. And we also do church buildings, renovations, and new construction from the ground up. And I had a pastor gave me a call one day and said, hey, I'm looking at doing some expansion. We need to build a new building, and I heard that you do that. Would you come take a look? Sure. So I went and met with him, and I asked him, I said, so how did you find out about us? Because we don't advertise for that construction. And he said, well, Skip Simmons told me about you. And I thought, and I said, I don't know a Skip Simmons. And he said, well, I'm sure that's who told me about you. And this was on a Friday afternoon that I had met with him. And the following Sunday in church, after church, at the end of church, pastor was telling us about thanking us for supporting through our tithes and givings, and that those tithes don't support just the church and what they do there locally, but also other organizations within the church and in the community surrounding the church. And one of those organizations is a group called No Longer Fatherless. And today we have their director, Skip Simmons, here, and he's going to tell you a little bit about it. And I was just amazed at somebody I'd never heard of, and now all of a sudden in church I'm meeting them. And Skip came up, told his story, and when I heard about what No Longer Fatherless does and how it touched me personally in my life, I was just shaken to the core. The Holy Spirit grabbed me in a way that has happened very few times in my life. And after Skip got done speaking, Pastor mentioned he'd be out in the lobby and we could talk to him afterward. And I couldn't get out of my seat. In one of the people that is in our Sunday school class that follows the church service, he saw that I was visibly shaken and didn't know why, but he asked me, he said, JB, are you okay? And I said, yeah, I just need a minute. And my wife was handing me tissues, and I'm crying, sitting there in the seat. And a couple minutes later, the same guy comes by, and he said, no, really, are you okay? And I said, yeah. I said, I'll see you in Sunday school. I'll be there in a couple minutes. And so I went and talked to Skip afterward, and he told me about the program. Of course, I was very interested, and said, look, I'll talk to my wife about it. And so we did. Terry and I talked about it, and in my position as the president and CEO of Covenant, I am extremely busy, and I have no spare time. But this moved me so much. I felt God's presence in it. And so I asked Terry about it. I said, if I get involved in this, it will take time away from you. And her answer to me was, I would never get in the way of you wanting to do something like that to help another young man, and something that has so clearly been placed on your heart visibly. And so we decided to get involved, and went through the classes that were very well done, very well organized. And after graduation through those, Skip's dad, Ernie, got together. He matches up the families and gave us 4 different profiles. And we had kind of qualified that a little bit in that I live in New Smyrna Beach, but my office is in Sanford. And I noticed most of the new mentors in that class were from the Port Orange area, which makes sense. That's where it's based. But there wasn't a lot of people covering Sanford. And Ernie had mentioned, well, some people have their mentees close to home and others close to work. And I said, well, I'd be happy to do it in Sanford if you have anybody who needs attention over there. Sure, we have plenty of people in Sanford. So he gave me 4 profiles, and my wife and I was driving up to Columbia, South Carolina, and I handed her the profiles, and I said, please read through these. I had already read through them, and had a strong feeling of which way I was going to go. But I wanted her to read through them, and I wanted it to be a joint decision. And so she read through them as we were driving, and we discussed each potential mentee. And 3 of them were teenagers, and one of them was a 7-year-old boy who had lost his father at age 5 to cancer. And that hit really hard with me because my dad, I didn't lose him, but we lost a little bit of touch when I was 6. And also, I have 2 grandsons that at that time were 5 and 7. And I have no idea what teenage boys do these days, not being around them, other than play video games. And so we together decided on the, 7-year-old, if I said 5 earlier, he's 7. Oh, he lost his father at 5, but he was 7 when I met him. And so we decided on Logan, and and then Ernie set up the meeting with us. And so we met Logan and his mother, Crystal, who is a terrific mother, does a great job with him. And so now we've been together for a year, and enjoying it a great deal.
Yeah, I loved a lot of the stories you shared in that mentor Q&A. And one thing I wasn't sure if I had this correct, but I can't remember if it was you that told me or him or his family. But I think, did you play Minecraft with him one night?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been a long time since I played video games. I used to love playing video games. And but one of the things he likes to do is play Minecraft. And so we played that one night at his house. And he just blew me away. And I was just fumbling through it, but I enjoyed that a great deal. And it's amazing how sharp his mind is. And he thought it would be a game that I would like, knowing that I was in construction. And it's kind of a construction-oriented game. So as you're building things with that. So we had he had a lot of fun with it. But yeah, and he's great about teaching me things, even on my iPhone, things that I didn't know about on that. For instance, we were at a park, and there was a No Longer Fatherless event coming up. It was disc golf. And so we got some discs and went to a disc golf park and was playing. And after a while, as we're walking down the trails between the different holes, he spotted an orange tree. And all the low-hanging fruit had been picked. So now we're throwing our discs up trying to get these oranges. And we knocked one down and took a bite of it, and it was awful. It was absolutely terrible. And so he said, "I don't think that's an orange." And I'm looking at it, and being from Michigan, I didn't know much about citrus anyway. And I said, "Well, it looks like an orange." And so he says, "Well, let's find out what it is." And okay. So he takes my phone, takes a picture of it, has Google search what it is, and it's not an orange, and it says that it's a bitter tasting fruit, and I don't even remember what the name of it was. I'm like, that's so cool. I didn't know you could do that. So a young 7-year-old man was teaching me how to use my iPhone.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Technology is unbelievable.
Yeah, he's great.
But I thought that story was so cool because a lot of people, and especially, as the generations get older, they tend to write off the youth and what they're doing these days because it's different from how we grew up or how they grew up. And it's easy to say, "Oh, I'm not going to play video games. That's a waste of time." But I'm sure just that one time meant so much to him that, this is something he loves. And then you're getting on his level and having humility to embarrass yourself a little bit and just enjoy it.
Yeah, and we're about to take that to a new level. My wife and I have recently bought a house in Columbia, South Carolina, and to be near our son and grandsons and daughter-in-law. And so now I travel back and forth. And I'm not in Florida every week. And so one of the biggest things I was concerned about in making that transition was that how am I going to stay connected with Logan, because he is a big part of my life. And so one of the ways you can do that nowadays is you can play video games online. And he doesn't know it yet. Crystal knows it. I've been talking to Crystal because I don't even know what system to buy or what games or what all that, but I'm hearing there's some on disc and some that are just download. I just want to make sure I get the right system that matches his so we can play online. And so we will be doing that very soon to where on the weeks that I'm not in Florida, we'll be able to play Minecraft online. I understand.
I'm excited to see what you build.
Yeah.
That'd be funny if you just got completely sucked into it.
Well, it's very possible. So we'll see where it goes.
And you guys have done a lot of stuff together. You like to focus on being outside, being in parks, playing sports, and you shared a couple really neat stories. One was about his birthday, and I know Mom came to you and said, "Well, we can have this on this day or this day," and then you could only make it to one of the dates, and then Logan made sure to reschedule to make sure you could be there.
Yeah, that was a real heartstring puller. His birthday was in the middle of the week, so they were looking at options of the weekend before or the weekend after. And one of those weekends, I was not available for my my mother-in-law's passing. She had passed, and it was her celebration of life that we were doing in Winter Haven, and obviously something I couldn't change. And so Crystal scheduled his birthday party, excuse me, on a weekend that I could be available, and went over there and met a lot of his family, and just had a great time at the birthday party. Yeah, it was fun.
And then one story that'll just melt your heart, bring a tear to your eye, was whenever you dropped them off that one night. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, and it might be hard for me not to tear up during this, but Crystal did mention when we first met that she would like for him to do things outside, which I think is probably pretty common because kids so much want to just do video games and stay inside is more common. and she wanted Logan to get outside, which is great because I need exercise too, and so doing things like that is very good for me. And so one of the things we decided to do one day is fly a kite. So I got a kite, we put it together and went flying the kite. And I noticed Logan had a sucker in his hand, and it was covered by cellophane wrapping paper, as they often are. And but he pulled it out, and he said, "Don't tell my mom. She doesn't want me to eat the sucker." And I thought, well, why? Why doesn't she want it? So this was probably a couple of months ago, sometime during the summer. And this sucker was from Halloween, the previous Halloween. So it had been around longer than what Crystal felt comfortable with him eating it. And I said, well, maybe you shouldn't eat it then. Oh, no, it's okay. And I know it's okay. And I said, well, she's not saying it to be mean. She's probably just protecting you from your stomach maybe having a problem with eating it. It's fine. And so he went ahead and peeled the cellophane off, and was working on that sucker while we were flying kites. And I was videotaping him flying the kite. And I love sharing those memories. And so he says, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm videotaping you flying the kite." "Well, let me look at it." And as he looked at it, he said, "You got to erase that." And I said, "Why?" And he says, "Because I don't want my mom to see the sucker. You can see the sucker." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So we played for a little while more, and then we got done. We went and sat in the bleachers. It was at a local park that had some bleachers for a baseball field. And so we went and sat and we talked. And I said, "Logan, I'm not going to tell your mother that you ate that sucker because I told you I wouldn't, and I won't. But I want you to tell her." And he had this very dejected look on his face. And I said, "Well, I'm going to leave it up to you, but I think you should tell her. Because if you have a stomach ache later, she will know immediately what happened and how to properly respond." And so anyway, I took him back home that night, and I went home, and an hour or so later, I got a text from Crystal that said, "I had a very sheepish looking young man come in and tell me that he had done something wrong, and spilled the beans on the whole sucker story. And it meant a great deal to her for him to be able to spend time with another adult outside of herself or her family who would give him the same exact advice that she would have given him." And so I feel that helped build our trust at a great level, because I didn't squeal on him, but yet still want to be protective of his health by all means.
We had another very similar story to that with a teenager in our program and his mentor who was hiding certain things from his mom, like it was like having a cell phone that she didn't know about and things like this. And then so our mentor found out about it and had these conversations with him about integrity and honesty, and sort of the same thing. He said, "I'm not going to tell your mom, but I need you to tell your mom. You cannot break her trust and hide these things from her, and you need to be honest." And it took him several weeks to muster up the courage, but he did come clean to his mom. And that just shows the impact of mentoring on teaching these character traits that are so important moving forward, and how much better it goes with honesty than hiding things.
That's great.
Yeah.
And then one that really warms my heart about the impact of your mentoring. One night you were dropping off Logan, and then he starts to run inside, and then thinks about something, turns around, and then runs back and gives you a big bear hug.
Boy, that was the first hug was huge, was huge, and even it was totally by surprise, of course, and that was a big step in our relationship. And Crystal was standing in the doorway behind him, and I could see his mother Crystal's reaction too. That she was very excited that he had reached that level of trust as well, and it was, huge for me.
For me, that is what it is all about. It's this young man, his father taken away from him from cancer, and I can't even imagine losing my dad right now. And he's in his 60s, I'm in my 30s, and this young man had to go through that at 5, and it's just not fair. And now we have a man in his life who, has earned that respect and trust, and it's just so huge in their life and just means so much to me. It's beautiful.
Yeah, we just this past Monday night, a couple nights ago, we Crystal had bought a couple of pumpkins, and so we carved pumpkins. Had a great time with that, and that is a tradition I've had with my children. My daughter is now 28 years old and lives in Atlanta, and she is coming over the night before Halloween to our house in Columbia, and we're going to carve a pumpkin. And I told Logan that's something we have been doing since she was his age or younger, and just a lot of fun.
That's really neat.
That. Yeah.
What did you carve? Sparty?
I'm not that talented. Mine looked more like an emoji, a simple face, just squinty eyes, and I dropped way down on one part, and Logan looked at it and he says, "Is that supposed to look like his tongue hanging out?" And I said, "Yeah, that's what I was trying to do." And he said, "The pumpkin I carved last year looks like that." And he showed me the pumpkin that he carved last year, and it was amazing how similar our pumpkins were.
That's funny.
Yeah, it was funny.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned your work with Covenant Construction.
Mm-hmm.
So Christ the King community, the church you guys are building a half mile from here.
Yes.
So their pastor, Scott Kirshner, is actually who I found out about it through.
Okay.
He supports our organization, and we get to see each other sometimes. And so I've, kept up with them, and he was giving me updates on their property. And he said, "Yeah, we found this builder who helps churches out and tries to build at cost and really make it affordable for them." And then so that's when I went to Pastor Pete, because they were ready to break ground right before Ian hit, and Hurricane Ian a couple years ago, or maybe longer. But anyway, once that happened and there were supply shortages and the cost went up, who knows, 75% or something like that. So they had to basically be on pause for a long time. And then told them about Covenant, and then that's when you guys met and had no idea who I was. But I think it's so special. We talked about it a little before, being able to do something you're passionate about and still being able to make a living. But yeah, you guys have your for-profit resorts and hotels and all those things, and then you get to have a God side where you get to help people who may not be able to build something as nice as they could if they didn't have you guys. So how long have you been with them? It's a fairly new company, right?
It is. Covenant technically formed April 20th of 2022. I came on board in March of 2023. And the way the connection with me happened is that our founder, Greg Chapman, who is a retired Marine, fully disabled worked at the time with ExxonMobil, and he was traveling all over the world and wanted to settle down and spend more time with his family, and wanted to start a construction business. And a lady that he was working with, that I worked with 10 or 12 years ago, connected us because I have license in Florida to do that. And his church, East Orlando Baptist Church in the east side of Orlando, was building a gymnasium. And so I just asked her to introduce me to Greg. And so we met on one of his trips to Florida. He was spending a lot of time with ExxonMobil in Houston and a little bit of time in Florida. So we met while he was in Florida. We talked about his project, and it was a very simple but similar project to what I had done with our church, which is Faith Baptist Church in Winter Haven. We added a gymnasium there in 2011 with classrooms and a full-blown commercial kitchen. And this one was not, it doesn't have the full-blown kitchen and all that. But I said, sure, I'll be glad to help you with your church addition. And that relationship was born and grew out of that to where there were more projects that kept coming along. And my finite little mind always thought that someday when I retire, I would like to help missionaries around the world with their construction projects, because every place I've been, the missionaries had some kind of construction project and needed some help with it. And so I thought that's what I'll do in our retirement. But as this relationship with Covenant grew, Greg offered me a position there, and over time I've grown into become the president and chief executive officer of Covenant. And now God allows me to do what I enjoy doing, which is building. But we have a for-profit side, and we have not-for-profit side. And so I'm able to do what I enjoy doing while I'm still employed.
Yeah.
And right now, I'd have to count, so I'm not lying to be exact, but 15 or 16 churches going on in multiple stages in multiple states across the country.
In just 2 years.
In just 2 years.
That's pretty incredible.
God has blessed us immensely. And not only that, and not just the churches, but the for-profit side that allows us to be able to function as a company while we're able to help churches with their projects.
Thrive has been around for, I think, 13 years. We've been going there for 11 years, and it's been at Spruce Creek High School the entire time. And that's essentially the only church my wife and I have ever been a part of in our adult life. So all we know is stinky high school that air conditioning works most of the time. We're in a cafeteria in the kids area, which thank the Lord they just redone, but it was pretty rough. There's some weekends where you have to chase a cockroach down and step on it in front of the kids. So it's going to be so strange going into an actual church building for Thrive, but the people cannot wait.
That's one of the, I took Logan over there on one of our hangout times and took a blower with me. I actually had two blowers. I had the small one that my wife likes to use, and of course the large one that I like to use. And so I was letting him blow out some of the dirt from the building shortly after the structure was in place, and just kind of cleaning off the slab. after a short amount of time, he didn't want the little one. He wanted the big one. So
Of course.
he started doing that. And then he found out how heavy that one was. So he switched back to the little one pretty quickly. And then I'd also suggested that he bring some chalk. And so he wrote some things on the floor in chalk. And I've also seen, I don't know if it was members of the church or some of our staff, but I've seen things written on the insides of the wall or the drywall, verses and things like that. That's pretty exciting about that.
Yeah, they had a week of prayer not too long ago, and they had waves of people go in and write verses all over the drywall and throughout the church. And I sent you a picture, and I was like, I wonder if I should be sending them a picture of this. Is this a code violation or something?
Not a problem, not a problem. It's great to have God's word spread wherever it can be spread, even if it's on the inside of a wall.
And one thing I learned about you through getting breakfast together, because you couldn't come out of your truck yet, was I think it's every day you have a devotional and prayer with your employees.
I do, from 7:15 to 7:30 every morning. Greg Chapman, our founder, gave me a book from Pastor Smith, and it's a daily devotional book, and I've been using that. Everybody in the company is welcome to join, and so yeah, that's the way we start our day from 7:15 to 7:30 is with that devotional.
Yeah, you need start your day with a lot of prayer moving into the construction space.
That's true. It requires a lot of prayer.
Yeah, a lot of things can go wrong. Building something.
There's a lot of pieces and parts that go in. A lot of people involved to put something like that together.
Is bringing faith into your job as a leader something that's newer, or is that something you've done over time?
I've done it greatly in the past, but it's become stronger as I become stronger. And praying publicly over a meal is something I've never been ashamed of. And I don't care if I'm meeting you in business for the first time. I don't know who you are. I'm taking you to lunch. I'm going to pray over the meal. And if you don't like it, then maybe we just don't need to do business together. That's not going to bother me at all. I always ask people if anybody has objection to that. I've never had anybody tell me that. I have had people in larger companies I've worked with in the past go to HR and make an issue of it, that it made them feel uncomfortable. They wouldn't tell me to my face. So I had to make some minor adjustments for that. But just the opposite also. Our Chief Financial Officer, Rick Crack, and I was at lunch the other day, and I prayed over the meals, I always do, and the people at the table next to us, they'd mentioned they thought that was great that somebody would do that publicly. So from that perspective, it's something I've been doing for a very long time. Now bringing it more into the business place with the daily devotions every day. And then also we just hired Chris Shear as our Director of Operations. And I went through the whole interview process, and I'm the last one in the interview process typically, or if Greg is available, he'll interview somebody at a high level, like a director position. And didn't talk about God at all in the interview process. And when we got to the end, I asked Chris, I said, Chris, there are a lot of companies out there, a lot of construction going on right now. You're a very qualified person. Why Covenant? We're not very big, and probably not going to be able to offer you as much as some other company might offer you. Why Covenant? Why do you want to work here? And he said, because I feel the presence of God in this place.
Wow.
And it's obvious to me that there's a lot of faith here. And I said, well, okay, since you brought it up, and I told him a little bit about the story. The first week that Chris started with us, his wife, who is athletic, was running and had a heart attack.
Oh my gosh.
Apparently, she thought she had a heart attack. So we immediately, boom, we're praying about it. It was not a heart attack. Everything's fine. She came home from the hospital after a day or two, and everything was great.
Wow.
And when all that happened, I told my wife, I said, why is it that somebody who starts to work with us and boom, their spouse has a medical event, and then, but what they saw is how we reacted, and how we reacted was, we're going to pray now, right, stop everything we're doing right now. And I just feel like that helps solidify our commitment to them, that it's not all about money.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking forward to Chris being a huge player for us.
Yeah, that's the same way I feel in our organization, and it's a little different being a nonprofit and being a ministry, and then a construction company. It's a lot more atypical for you to treat your staff and people like that. But that's a big focus for me, is not just what are you doing for me today,
Mm-hmm.
how much are you accomplishing, like how are you, how's your life going, can I pray for you?
Mm-hmm.
That's much more important to me. Get that relationship built, and then we'll see what we can accomplish together.
Yeah, and our founder, Greg Chapman, we just had a meeting earlier this week with the staff in the office in Sanford, and he reiterated our focus is on our people.
Mm-hmm.
Without our people, we're not anything, and we're going to continue to strengthen that focus on our people.
Yeah, and you would hope that would build a lot more loyalty
Mm-hmm.
from your people, and how hard they'll work for you.
Sure.
By how you treat them. Is sort of that incorporating your faith and leadership style, is that something learned, or is that just sort of your personal journey and trial and error, figuring things out over the years?
I have no technical training in the ministry, so I would say it's just from learning throughout the years. I did serve as a deacon at Faith Baptist Church for 9 years for Pastor Nate Osborne, and then also was chairman of the deacons for a while during that, so I learned a lot during that time. And just I've been blessed so many times in so many ways that making that a part of my life has been fairly simple.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've been twice in my life, I have been without work for over a year. And in the construction industry, that's not terribly uncommon. 2008, after that huge crash, there were a lot of people out of work for over a year. And actually had one of our neighbors from across the street who had worked for a large grocery store chain that everybody would recognize the name of for 20 years, and totally blindsided, got laid off. Mm-hmm. And his wife told him, you need to go across the street and talk to James, because he hasn't worked in months and he still has a great attitude. You need to figure that out. And figuring that out is the hope we have in Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That gets us through those sorts of things, that it's not despair. It wasn't a surprise to him. It's part of the plan. And what I do during those times is just reach out to God and say, okay, what are you trying to teach me during this time? I pray that my heart and my mind will be open to learn what it is you have for me, and hopefully move through this valley and get to the other side. And I found, even as deep as some of those valleys feel, that when you get out of the valley and you look back, it's like, wasn't really that bad. I mean, I've been to one of the mission trips I did was to Africa, to the capital city of Niger is Niamey, and seeing how people live there, we're in a much better position here.
Mm-hmm.
I did another trip to Tijuana, Mexico. It's not that bad. Our worst day here, not that bad.
I know it's so easy to get stuck in our heads, and we get frustrated over the dumbest thing some
Mm-hmm.
days, and you just feel ashamed, like a red light can throw off your mood, or just something not going as you expect. And then the perspective and attitude you mentioned can be life-changing. Just
Mm-hmm.
those mission trips you talk about, and just realizing how good we have it.
Mm-hmm.
There's some couple simple things that I just will never take for granted whenever I lay down at night and just absorb the bed. And every time I just pray, like, thank you so much for this bed and this pillow. It's just so
Mm-hmm.
comfortable and relieving. And then every time I get a hot shower, I just thank the Lord. Because can you imagine not having hot water? Those would be some tough days.
I have done 3 mission trips to Brazil where I slept in a hammock all week and had no hot water.
Mm-hmm.
And but to live like that all the time, yeah, that's a different world.
Were you near the Amazon?
Was not near the Amazon. We were in João Pessoa, which is the easternmost part of the country. In fact, it's the easternmost part of South America, and is actually an hour or 2, depending on daylight savings time, earlier than here. It's that far east.
Did you get to go fishing?
I did not get to go fishing. We were building a youth camp
Okay.
on those trips, so I did not get to go fishing.
We have a supporter of ours, Dusty, who leads I'll Go missions, and they are in Jamaica, in the Bahamas, in Haiti, I believe, Costa Rica, and near the Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was telling me about this trip they do to the Amazon, where they're on this huge boat that has all their supplies and everything like that. And they start at one side and they go village to village and offer medical care and whatever they need. And I was asking him if he gets to fish there. And he has poles and gear that he leaves down there.
Yeah.
And he's friends with one of the guides who is from the villages. So he said he'll get there and the guy will say, hey, when are we going fishing? And so they'll actually go out, and he said they'll catch 20 peacock bass and bring them back to the village, and they consume everything.
Yeah.
But I told my wife I'm gonna take my son down to the Amazon one day with him.
Mm.
She's not excited about it.
No, have not been on the Amazon, but that does sound exciting.
Mm-hmm. We did get to catch peacock bass in South Florida, but they're much smaller here in the States than in their native South America. That was
That'd
a
be
fun
fun.
trip.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you said you've been married 40 years.
We have.
What are a few pieces of advice you would give to couples to have a long-lasting marriage?
Well, one of the things that I have learned is when I'm prioritizing my to-do list for the weekend, it starts with Terry's to-do list, that's my wife. And so if you make that your priority, that'll help tremendously. Patience is not something I was born. It's something that God has allowed me to get better with. And
That's why he gives us wives.
yes, exactly. And to trust her intuition. Terry has great, they call it women's intuition. And just remember that our wives are a gift to us from God.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about that and you treat your wife as a gift from God, should go okay. And not as an employee, not as a servant. I'll fall on the sword here once, very, very long time ago. I don't even remember what it was about, but something didn't get done that I expected to get done. And I said, if you were my secretary, I would have fired you.
Oh, man.
And she said, I'm not your secretary. And she was 100% right. She's not my secretary.
That wasn't a good night.
She's a gift from God.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was a long time ago and it didn't happen again.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Stuck your foot in your mouth there.
Oh, that was terrible. That was my business mind. Sometimes my business mind gets in the way, which it did before we were getting ready to go to Africa, which was first major trip, missions trip that I had been on. I'd been to Europe that summer, but that was pretty easy, Germany and Italy. But going to Niamey was very, very different. And I looked at the cost and the people that went, and my mind said, well, why don't we all just give our $1,500 a piece that it's costing us to do this, just give it to the missionary. Look what they could do with all this money. What I did not realize until I was there is that it's not about the money. It's about the time and giving of yourself. And after being there, the people there were so excited about us. And we were working on a school, adding a school building to an existing school, who was the top school in the country. And Niamey is the capital of Niger, and the political families sent their children there, and it's 98% Muslim. But this school being the best, these foreign dignitaries wanted their children going to the school. And one of the requirements is that they have to go to Bible class every day. And these Muslim leaders are like, well, we want them to go to school there, but they don't need to go to that Bible class. And they stood strong on it and said, well, that's part of the curriculum. If you attend our school, you have to attend that.
Wow.
So this was an opportunity for Muslim people to hear about Christ every day. And we worked there between Christmas and New Year's when the kids were not there at the school. And we left, they were in school one day before we left. So the headmaster of the school took us around and introduced us in each class. Bless you. And so these classrooms were very small, designed to hold 22 to 25 children. And they had 50 to 55 in every class. And whenever they introduced us, they would say, these people are here from the United States because they love Jesus and they want to help us with our school. And the headmaster would ask each class, would anybody like to sing a song for them?
Wow.
And 50 plus kids are all screaming, raising their hand. They all wanted to sing Christian songs.
Very cool.
I've never seen that in a class in the United States to that level of enthusiasm. And these kids were singing Christian songs in French, which was their primary language.
Oh, wow.
But it was incredible to see that kind of excitement for Christ in a country that's Muslim.
Yeah.
Because of that opportunity.
It's pretty amazing. I have to shout out an experience I had last night. We went, my son and I, he's now in middle school, so he's old enough to go to the youth group. And we went to something called Fusion Night, which is, they had 13 local churches gather at First Baptist Daytona and had all their youth combine for, a service. They do it once a month in the room. I can't tell how big the auditorium was. You'd be able to tell a lot better than me, but I think it was over 300, and it's 312 to
18-year-olds
Mm.
just worshiping their hearts out, and you could hear them over the worship band singing
Wow.
these songs, and it made me tear up because
Yeah.
having our youth united like that for Christ, it was so powerful. And I wish we could do that more, and I wish the adults would have a little bit more unity in the church, but it was such a powerful experience. I loved it.
That is powerful. That's great.
I'm glad it's going on here locally. Well, I think you got to get to some jobs. We've surpassed an hour.
Well, that's part of it. Have to work once in a while.
Yeah. But I really appreciate you coming by.
Yeah.
And I really look up to you as a leader and a man and a mentor and a husband. And I just think you are having an eternal impact in Logan's life, and it cannot be measured. So I just appreciate all you do, and I'm glad we got to meet.
I'm glad we got to meet too. I had thought about this a little bit from when you talked about it, and I had thought about opening with, "I'm here to make you a non-believer," and I thought that might grab some attention about why would I want to be a non-believer. This all didn't happen because of coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
There is no coincidences. God formulated all this together. So you should not believe in coincidences.
Mm-hmm.
That's the non-believer you need to be, is believing in coincidences. It didn't just happen. God made it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very thankful for it, that he brought us together. Thankful for what you're doing with the organization. You and your whole team doing a fantastic job. And I'm already looking in Columbia, South Carolina, so we'll see what grows out of it.
Hey, we don't have a chapter elsewhere yet, but it's in the cards one day.
I've heard some discussion about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'd be
We'll
great.
see what happens.
Sure.
God will lead us to another coincidence.
Yes. Yes. Very good.
Well,
Thanks.
thank you.
Thank you.
Great to see you. And thanks for watching, everybody. Please like, subscribe, comment, share. Find us on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, Facebook, and our website, NoLongerFatherless.org. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Take care.